So Patrick, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You describe it. You describe it.
What?
I do enough talking.
Whatever. What?
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much, but I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. Some of them just want to like make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up and nowhere. He's like, "Oh, we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then you just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
That was the guy from.
The Palace of Speed. The chaos early on in this race. Bonsoir, bienvenue au circuit MOSPORT de Canada, and my friends, that is French for good evening, and welcome to the MOSPORTS Canada circuit. We are here for race 5 of season 13. I want to say, if my math serves me correctly, and it probably doesn't. We're here for race 5 of season 13 of the Spec-5 World Tour from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, also known as MOSPORT. This track, very iconic Canadian circuit. It was Canada's first permanent motor racing facility and is one of a handful of circuits that have continued in operation for more than 60 years without any layout alterations. So they have used this layout of this circuit for over 60 years. That is incredible. My name is Alex Andersen. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Randall, McGrew, and Adam. Thompson is in our virtual production truck. And Randall, last time, or pretty much every time this series goes to this track, they always put on one hell of a show.
I don't think I've ever seen a race that wasn't exciting at MOSPORT, and it seems like a big track for these cars, but this is always super exciting seeing this combo. So no doubt we'll have a good race tonight.
Yeah, for sure. It is going to be very exciting to watch. Here's your Pro Class Championship standings. After last week, Joshua Soto took the points lead away from second place, Mitchell Peak, who actually, this week, might I add, if Ray set up the broadcast notes correctly, Mitchell Peak is driving with a broken right foot toe. So props to him for sticking it out, especially in a 45-minute race with these cars, which are known to be a bit of a handful to drive after their update. Andrew Gilliland leads the Open Class Championship standings by about 21 points, if I can count. I don't think I can, but I'm gonna hope I can. Should be 21 points between Andrew Kosick and Andrew Gilliland, but Ken Copeland there in third. He's a bit further back, but he's starting to gain some momentum for the Pro Class, or the Open Class, apologies.
That'd be interesting to see if he can have a good run of finishes here and start to bring the fight back to the two Andys and maybe make that a three-way fight for the Open Class. We're now jumping on board here with Andrew Gilliland. We're seeing him weave back and forth across the track as he goes down this not straight straightaway, trying to build a little bit of heat in these tires. The first couple laps around here can be really tricky on cold tires. So we're going to see them employing some of these techniques to try to build up a little heat so they have a bit more grip whenever they go take their flying lap.
Yeah, trying to scrub the tires off, get him a little bit clean before he breaks into a series of right-left-handers. And Randall, we've seen some absolutely incredible battles through this section of racetrack on the final lap, especially in this last corner. We've seen them go side by side into this corner on the last lap for the lead. It's absolutely incredible to watch. Mitchell Peak with a broken toe just took provisional pole. Tom Athan takes it right back. There goes Joshua Soto. Greg Mack up to the top of the board. And Andrew Gilliland, he gets a pretty nice turn one there. Turn one's pretty interesting here, and so are turns 2 and 3, as they are all momentum corners. You can't really run straight on the inside. You got to kind of arc your line a little bit through the corner, and Andrew Gilliland does a pretty good job of that into turn 2. Let's see if he can keep it up into 3. He's going to get it nice up, get it up on the curb a little bit, get on the gas early. And he's going to bring it gently out to the curb, not really pushing it too hard at the moment, under the Continental Bridge. His corner, you have to, I believe it's full throttle. Andrew lifts a little bit there, just being conservative. Hard braking into this double right-hander. This is a very difficult corner, and it's honestly one of the best passing spots around this racetrack, with it being the hardest braking zone around here. Down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Now, it's not straight, but it still is called a straightaway, and this is where you're going to get the most draft off of other cars. It's almost like the Road Atlanta back straightaway, the way this track is set up, and you're going to get a nice run down here. Just try and get the most consistent line you can down this straight. Enters sector 3 now with a pretty decent lap going. He's going to get on the brakes for this right-hander. It's another momentum corner. A lot of the corners on this track are momentum corners. He's going to get it to the outside to turn nice into the second to last corner. Same thing for the final corner. Hard on the brakes into second gear now. Going to bring it towards the outside curb, and that completes your lap around Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, known to many as Motorsport. That'll put Andrew Gilliland in 11th at the moment with Mike Dam currently on provisional pole.
There's some really tricky corners around this track, particularly turn 2. You have that extremely blind entry, and if you get it wrong, you're going to end up in the grass, and once you're out there, it's really hard to recover and not end up in the tire barriers. And then the Moss Hairpin, extremely difficult corner to get right. It starts off uphill, which lets you brake a little bit later, but if you brake too late, you'll just carry too much speed and spin the car. And then right there at the crest of the hill, the car unloads and it gets a little bit off camber, and it just gets really tricky to hold on to. But it's super important because you have that long straightaway that you need to get back onto the throttle early for, to try to make the most out of all that momentum down the straightaway and maybe make a move or defend from somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what a lot of these drivers are going to try to do is can inhibit around in turn number 3. I think he tagged the tire barriers a bit there. He currently sits second, and he should have another lap to use. Speaking of another lap to use, Joshua Soto is going to have one after this lap. He's on his third lap at the moment, so we'll see what he can do. Very fast driver, currently the points leader. He's the season 10 champion of this series, so he knows what it takes to win in the Spec-5 World Tour. Very talented driver. As he's going to head to the final couple of corners, we'll see what he can do. Looks like he's like maybe 6/10 behind the leader, judging off those intervals, maybe 7. Here comes Rui Coimbra, past champion of this series. The update to these cars has not served him well, as he still hasn't really figured them out all too well, but he's going to put down a pretty good lap here. It's going to get him up to second, only about just under 2/10 behind Mike Dam. So we'll see if he can pull through here for the first time this season. Otis Adams Jr., very talented driver, just hasn't got the luck that he's needed basically for his entire career in this series, and very loose through this top section of racetrack. He's going to get it turned down the back straightaway, and just this long full throttle run has got to be just so tedious for drivers to get through.
And we see now the screen's getting a little bit darker if you're watching. We got some cloud cover rolling in. We could see the track temp drop a couple degrees here. We may see some really fast laps getting clocked. Right now, we just saw Mike Dam put up a 32.7, and was watching him in practice. He and Robert Hartley were working on that bump draft going down the straightaway. So watch out if those two get together, they could run away with this.
Yeah, definitely, and it would be interesting to see how that happens. As Mike Dam, first season in this series, he has been off to a great start, and he's going to improve on his lap there as well. A 132.6 for Mike Dam. That's going to put Rui Coimbra barely under 0.3 of a second behind him. That is a pretty big gap for pretty much anyone in this series, so we'll see if Mitchell Peak can improve there. He gets a 133.008. That'll improve on his best lap, but it won't get him any positions. That will be the end of his qualifying run, so he's just going to hope for the best there from P3. So honestly, we have a pretty interesting race set up for us. Here's Eugenio Polici, the only Italian driver in the field. Once again, a very quick driver, just hasn't gotten any luck to go his way. I'll see if he can turn that around tonight. Starting P6 at the moment, and he's on a pretty good lap so far. We're going to see if he can finish it out. Tags the grass a little bit before turning into that corner. We'll see what he does at the line.
And this is one of those tracks where you got to kind of keep an eye on the leaderboard. There'll be some names that surprise you. I remember Sean Hayes is exceptionally fast here, and I'm pretty sure this is one of Rui Coimbra's tracks, so it's really good to see him back at the sharp end of the field again here in qualifying, even if he's 0.3 off Mike Dam. As long as he can stay in contact, that draft will keep him there throughout the race, so he just needs to be smart. Rui Coimbra, I mean, the guy knows how to race. He knows how to pass, so with a good qualifying run, this could be his night.
Yeah, definitely. And we just need to see if he can pull off that qualifying run that he needs. Currently, he's got a pretty decent spot at the moment, the 7 car in the number 7 spot, and pretty much you can win this race from anywhere. You can win races in this series from anywhere in the field. We've seen that before in this series. Otis Adams Jr. once again. Currently, I think he's setting up for a lap here. Here's Andrew, or that's going to be his last lap actually, so apologies. And here's Andrew Kosick, who is trying to get himself onto open class pole. Ken Copeland currently has that privilege at the moment with a 133.662. Andrew Kosick, however, going to bring it into the pit lane. And it looks like we're going to have a bit of a pre-race interview here. Otis Adams Jr., driver of the number 22 car. Done with your laps. How are you feeling going into this race?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey guys, yeah. Well, I was feeling better before qualifying. I, put in a banker lap on lap 2, and then wrecked on lap 3, and you can't get out there and get the tires warmed up in one lap. So that was pretty much it for me. But pace-wise, considering how little I practiced, I like this track a lot, so I think I can make some moves and work my way up.
All right, well, we'll see if you can pull that off starting from P11. What's your strategy to try and get towards the front? Is it pit stops?
Just go fast, try not to wreck. This track's so unforgiving. I have a tendency to do really well or wreck. So goal is to not wreck.
That's like me with Road America, but before we get this race started, what do you think you're looking forward to the most? Because there's a lot that has happened in previous races at this track in the Spec-5 World Tour.
Yep, I'm hoping to at least get past turn 1, lap 1. I wrecked there last season, because on cold tires there was a little checkup, and I think I was P4 and couldn't keep the car under me. So just getting through the cold tires, is really tough here, and then working with everybody till at least the pit stops, and then it should be a pretty rough race after that. So should be a good one.
All right, well, good luck with that, my friend. We'll see if you can pull through from behind the wheel of the number 22 car. Good luck.
Yep, thank you very much.
And that was Otis Adams Jr., Randall, a driver that we have seen various times in this series, but like we mentioned earlier, he just has never gotten the luck to go his way.
Yeah, Otis seems just a little bit snake bit, especially this season. Hopefully he can get one good here. He says he likes this place, so if you like a track, your chances are always pretty good there. You just got to make sure you temper your expectations and don't try to send anything too greedy. MOSPORT, like Otis mentioned, very unforgiving. This is definitely an economics track. It's all about the trade-off. You got to be careful. Don't push too hard, or the trade-off is going to be that you're in the gravel. So take his time. 45 minutes is a long time to get some positions back. And the fuel window here is pretty large. They're going to be able to come in anytime between lap 9 and lap 20, only needing like 2 gallons of fuel. It's going to be a 29-ish laps race. So there's a lot of room for pit strategy. So we can definitely see a lot of movement through the field.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with that pit strategy, we bring it up every single race, but it's just so very important for these drivers. And it's one of the things that you always have to look for in this series, and I would say no driver in this series is as good as pit stops as the one we are looking at right now, Ronnie Coates. Currently, I think my eyes are deceiving me with how far I'm seeing him down the leaderboard. You normally never see this driver this far down here, although he's improved in the first couple of sectors this lap, and that's going to put him up in 9th place, but still a little bit further down probably from where he usually would have qualified, so he's going to be looking to improve on his positions if he can. And I would say the best place for Ronnie Coates to do that is the pit stops, because like we have said so many times before during Spec-5 World Tour races, Ronnie Coates is the absolute best driver. I would go out on a limb and say the absolute best driver in this series at pit stops.
He's very good at the pit strategy, and he knows when to save fuel to make that pit even easier to manage. So watch him tonight. I don't think that there is a static pit strategy tonight. I think everybody's going to be playing it very loose and fast and seeing when the opportunity presents itself for a good pit entry. We've seen a couple of the drivers at the end of their quali run take the entire in lap and then hit that pit entry really hard. The pit entry here is very short. You can make up a lot of time. So we see some of those drivers practice, and they're probably going to have a bigger advantage come the pit stop because they're going to make up time just on attacking the entry.
Yeah, so we'll see if these drivers can pull that off. And that pit lane, like you mentioned, Randall, it's just so difficult to get right, but you can make up a lot of time there, and you can also lose a lot of time there. And Ronnie Coates last week at Suzuka put himself from pretty much dead last back into the lead fight just off pit strategy alone, so we'll see if he can do the same thing here. Looks like he'll just barely get this lap in. We'll see if he can improve at all across the line. That lap, he'll improve on his best with a 1:33.2, but he's going to start 9th at the moment. So that is the end of your qualifying run here tonight. Mike Dam on pole, Rui Coimbra just under 0.3 of a second behind him, which, might I add, that is a massive, massive gap for a Spec-5 World Tour race. So we'll see how fast Mike Dam is, the Canadian driver in his hometown track come race time. Mitchell Peak, another Canadian, up here in the top 5 at his hometown track. He's driving with a broken right foot toe, so give Mitchell Peak all the props you can for sticking it out through this race, because I probably wouldn't if I was driving with a broken toe. Michael Coates there in P4. Eugenio Polici, the Italian, inside the top 5 there in 5th. Robert Hartley in 6th. Camden Hibbett in 7th. Joshua Soto in 8th. Ronnie Coates in 9th. Jordy Fike in 10th. Brian Zabelski in 11th. Greg Mack in 12th. A little bit further behind them, Otis Adams Jr. in 13th. Sean Hayes in 14th. Kenneth Staub in 15th. Ken Copeland on the open class pole at the moment, trying to make up a pretty big points deficit. He has about, after this race, I want to say maybe 8 rounds left to pull it off, so we'll see if he can do that. Lee Martin is in 17th, Andrew Kostic second in the open class, second in the points as well, about 20 points back of the points leader. Paulo Coimbra in 19th, Tom Athan in 20th, Orlando Harrell, I believe that's a new driver to this series, there in 21st. Ray Lombardi probably a little bit further back than he would have wanted there in 22nd. Andrew Gilliland, the open class points leader, is there in 23rd. John Casey in 24th, a little bit further back. We have Jose Gonzalez in 25th and Nicky Borovic in 26th. Looks like those two drivers didn't settle out, but that is your starting grid for tonight. And as we are just about 20 seconds shy of cars starting to roll here from MOSPORT, Randall, who do you think you're going to look out for the most here tonight?
I got my eye on Rui Coimbra. He's hungry for a win. He hasn't been up front as much lately this season since the last big build with this car. I think maybe he's going to pull it together tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, if I were to have to pick any driver in the field, I think starting from P6, I think I'm going to have to go with Robert Hartley in the number 3 car. He's had a strong showing all season, just like so many other drivers in this series, just not the best of luck. The almost 10,000 road I rating driver, I think he's going to get a win in this series tonight, but we'll see what happens as cars start to roll from MOSPORT. As they had their turn number 1, the field's starting to come together. Jose Gonzalez going to start from the pits there. Nicky Borovic looks like is going to do the same thing at the moment. So everybody else has taken to the track. We're going to have 24 cars for the start of tonight's race. And really, there's a lot that can happen tonight. I mean, there's so many factors heading into this race. First off being the track, it was expected to be extremely hot, and if I look at the temperature, if I can, I'll see if I can get that up in 1 second.
92 degrees Fahrenheit right now, so it's not cool, but it's not super hot either. It should be in a really good range for these cars.
Yeah, pretty hot track that these drivers are going to have to work with tonight. And we have got a bit of insider information from Jordy Fike. The left side tires especially, they wear out a lot at this track at the moment, and especially the left front tires. So we know that some drivers are going to be taken for some of these drivers. We know the left side, that they're probably going to take left side. So we just have to see what the entire field does. And like normal, 2 tires are free, 4 tires will cost 3 to 5 seconds, so we'll see if any drivers choose to take that risk here tonight as they head down the back straightaway.
It's going to be an interesting strategy because most people will want to kind of split the race in half to make sure that they have the most good tires throughout the race. But some of the faster drivers that are easier on their tires are going to stick it out there longer to try to run more laps on lower fuel and then come in as late as possible. But then there's always the opportunity to make up spots in the draft as drivers in front of you pit. So it's very hard to pick a good pit strategy for this race with such a wide pit window. Really just got to know when to come in and trust your instincts.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see if any of these drivers can do that tonight as the iRacing safety car dives into the safety of the pit lane. Now it's all up to the drivers. It'll be a short run down to the start-finish line. The green flag is out, and we are racing from MOSPORT. Mike Dam with a pretty good start. We're going to match it and make it a little bit better on the outside as they go side by side into turn number 1 for the lead. Rui Coimbra with the run off the top. He'll try and take the lead as they're still side by side heading towards turn number 2. Rui Coimbra with the advantage now over Mike Dam as Mitchell Peak clear into third. Racing a little bit further behind them as well as 1 car off track. That's Eugenio Polici, if I'm not mistaken. I'll see if that is correct. Yes, it is Eugenio Polici off track in the number 7 car, started 5th, and now in the tire barriers at the moment. Rui Coimbra takes the lead for the first time in a while now. Side by side a little bit further behind them. Here's Sean Hayes currently running 14th, or he started 14th. He's doing quite well for himself on this opening lap.
We see a big logjam here coming into Moss. Lots of heavy braking, people having to check up and brake earlier than normal and getting the timing wrong in a few instances. We see a couple overtakes being made there because of that, some opportunistic moves. As we see the 137 is going to be the loser in all this and kind of dropping back now. Needs to get back in line, find his groove, and get back on with the program.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of these drivers are going to be looking to do that. Ken Copeland currently trying to pull away from some of his open class competitors, but he's got a pro class car to his inside now heading into this corner. Andrew Kosek and Tom Athan could take advantage of this if they can. Andrew Kosek now, the first car behind Ken Copeland in the open class. These two will go side by side into the final corner. And really eating the curb there. Kind of the stop gets super sideways. He'll lose a bunch of time there and probably go to the back of the field. It looks like he's not going to get passed by Andrew Gilliland. No, he will. So that sends Kenneth Staub from about 13th all the way back to 23rd, and that is how costly mistakes are around this track. Rui Coimbra still leads Mike Dam up front.
You watch this lap and the next lap are going to be the trickiest because the tires are going to have a little bit of temperature. They're going to feel possibly a little overconfident. We may see some moves that just don't work out and have a couple cars off into the grass. It's going to be particularly difficult here in this Moss hairpin. We're going to watch here as they get into the brakes hard. The car is going to feel comfortable initially, and then it's just going to want to over rotate because there's just not enough heat in the tires yet. It looks like these guys have a pretty good handle on it. So far, so good.
Yeah, everybody having a pretty good start to this race. And looks like side by side a little bit further back, they're trying to go 2x2. Here's David Staub. I think, no, that's Joshua Soto. Excuse me, I get their cars mixed up a bit. Joshua Soto chasing down Camden Ibbott, tried to get those outside down the straight, couldn't pull it off as Mike Dam is going to take the lead heading into the third to last corner. Mitchell Peak going to follow him through into second. Rui Coimbra now back down to third. Joshua Soto still following the rest of the field as it's a pretty big main pack. It stretches from about Mike Dam up in the lead to Otis Adams Jr. down there in 12th. Mike Dam with the fastest lap at the moment with a 1:33.0.
A lot of these drivers here in the draft are going to have a lot of opportunity to save fuel, and if the drivers in front of them pit, they're going to be able to make up some of that track position just by way of the slipstream. So expect to see a lot of gamesmanship going on here, seeing who's saving fuel and who's trying to make moves early.
Yeah, it looks like everybody so far is just sticking it out at the moment, not really trying to pull off too many moves, and that's pretty much the story for a lot of the Spec-5 World Tour races. It'll start to pick up in about, I would say, the 30-minute range after all the pit stops have been completed and the drivers know they can make it to the end of this race because they will have to make a pit stop at the moment. And speaking of pit stops, they will have to pit between, if I'm not mistaken, pit window should be lap 9 through lap 20. And I'm not sure how long this race is expected to be, so we'll see what happens there. But pit window is going to open lap 9. It'll last through to lap 20, so pretty quick laps for these drivers. And Orlando Harrell in his first race in this series, doing a pretty decent job right now. Currently in front of 3 of his open class competitors.
Right now, having a good run. We're going to look at Ray Lombardi here now, back behind the leaders in the open class. He's also got Lee Martin back there with him. Needs to make some moves to get around these guys and back up with the pros. He knew that these first couple of seasons in the pro class for him were going to be learning experiences, and right now he's kind of getting his lesson learned back behind the open class.
Yeah, definitely. And Andrew Kosek still running 16th behind Tom Athan, who is a little bit a ways from Ken Copeland for the open class lead, So doing a pretty decent job, these two drivers are. They just need to try and close this gap down a little bit, trying to stay within range of this 15 car, so that way they can race him at the end of the race. But still, pit stops to come for this group of cars, as there are also quite a bit more of open class drivers in this pack. Actually, it's only one. So just Paulo Coimbra in this pack.
Sorry to interrupt here.
Tumbling down the order,
yes.
Yeah.
It's like Mitchell Peak off here at Moss. Maybe got it wrong. I don't know if they were fighting for the lead up there and got maybe a little help, but we're going to get on board with the replay here. We see Mitchell Peak leading the way down through the sweeper into Moss, and it looks like he's just going to carry too much speed and gets off into the gravel. It's easy to do there. Just got a little too much, a little too greedy, and that trade-off hit him again right there. Now he's in the grass and lost a whole lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and very unfortunate for him. He was fighting for the lead of the race, but now he's going to be stuck behind 3 open class cars, as well as Lee Martin. Major setback for him. We'll see if he can pull together a decent recovery effort, especially with where he is in points. Mike Dam still leads Rui Coimbra across the line. Very unfortunate circumstances for Mitchell Peak, as now down to 1 Canadian up in the main pack, that being Mike Dam. So we'll see what he can do. The Canadians also have Jordy Fike in P7, but he needs to make his way towards the front of the field if Mike Dam wants his help at all. Then it's a train of a bunch of other American drivers following him now as they head through turn number 3. Rui Coimbra still leads the rest of this group in a second. And Mike Dam just showing so much pace here tonight. And he's just so much faster than everybody else on track, it seems.
That seems to be true. Any track that Mike Dam shows up in an MX-5, he's just going to be faster than everybody. This is really his jam, and yeah, he's always going to be one of the faster cars out there. So if you're going to try to follow somebody, follow Mike. He will keep you up front with that slipstream. Just try to stay on that bumper, and that's exactly what Rui Coimbra is trying to do now.
Yeah, and as they head down this back straightaway, you will see on the right of the timing tower, you'll see the I rating of each driver up in the front of the field. You'll see their safety rating as well. Looking at Mike Dams, he has about 5,600 road I rating there with an A-class license. And looking at Robert Hartley's 9.7 thousand, this is my pick to win this race. 9,700 I rating. That is absolutely incredible for any driver to have in any sort of discipline on the iRacing service, and it shows how much time some of these drivers have committed into iRacing, and it just shows the level of skill in this field when a 9,000, almost 10,000 I rating driver isn't able to lead this race at the moment. It's absolutely incredible to watch.
And most of that I rating is in the MX-5. The MX-5 Advanced Cup used to be the premier series on iRacing, and when that time was around, Robert Hartley was the king of the MX-5s, so he knows his way around this car. He's seen it change so much, and he is going to be that guy that's going to get you by surprise just from years of experience, if not by raw speed.
Yeah, definitely, and so we'll see what he can do if he manages to get up to the front of this field. He was a main contender at Suzuka. We'll see what he can do tonight. Michael Coates trying to make a move for second now on Rui Coimbra. Looks like he's got his nose out in front at the moment. He has help from Cameron Hibbett down the back straightaway as Mike Dam is just seeing exactly what he wants in his mirror right now. Michael Coates going to take over second, and he'll pull off a little bit of a defensive line to stay in front of Cameron Hibbett there. Mike Dam loses a bit of time into that corner. He might have been trying to save fuel knowing how much of a gap he had as they head into the final corner. Michael Coates takes over the lead. Cameron Hibbett going to follow him through into third. Rui Coimbra falls back to fourth now, but still his best race of the season so far, I would say.
And I tell you, while I was watching Mike Dam and Robert Hartley in practice, I can tell you on entry to the S's at the end of the lap, Mike Dam does not use the brakes. So even though he's in the front, he's going to be saving fuel. He's going to be lifting a little bit earlier than everybody else, but he's not going to touch those brakes to that entry to the S's. Not until they get to the left-hander will he just barely brush the brake to get the car to work with the downshift. But yeah, don't count out Mike Dam saving fuel here just because he's in the front.
Yeah, definitely, and saving fuel is a major part of this series. We have seen that in the past. Tom Athan, now the open class leader, as Ken Copeland has fallen back to 15th, 2 spots behind him. So not sure what exactly happened to Ken there. It might have just been off raw pace, but Mitchell Peak now following him. John Casey off track. He's going to tag the tire barriers. That's a pretty big hit there for him. He'll back up into the retaining wall as well and try and get it turned back around out of turn number 3. Very unfortunate for him as Andrew Gilliland runs in 21st.
Andrew Gilliland not having the greatest race here, going to be suffering in the points after this round, especially if Andrew Kosick or if Ken Copeland can come through with the win.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what he can do here tonight, is it would be a pretty big points gain for Ken Copeland if he were to finish up here. Mitchell Peak has now gotten around Tom Athan, so they are 1-2 for the open class lead at the moment. Ken Copeland right on the back bumper of Tom Athan for this. And Paulo Coimbra not too far back either there in 17th. You see him in the background there behind Lee Martin. So we have a pretty decent battle going on for the open class as well, but like most Spec-5 World Tour races, it's not going to really start to pick up until after the pit stops when these drivers can make it to the end of the race.
And we're quickly approaching the opening of the pit window. So we'll see if we have any early takers. I doubt that we'll have very many that come in before lap 14 or 15, but they could. You never know. Maybe if somebody gets in a little bit of trouble, decides to come in, go ahead and get the freshies on there, get a breath, and try to make some good lap times coming out of the pit lane. But pitting early here, I think, might be a detriment.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there as Mike Dam still leads Michael Coates, who has closed this gap down quite a bit heading down this straightaway. He'll move to the outside now to go for the race lead. He has his nose out front in there. Camden Hibbett going to elect to follow him now around the outside. Mike Dam going to lose the lead for the first time in a while to Michael Coates, who now has it in the number 213 car heading to the final couple of corners. Pretty clean move around the outside. Very nice job from Michael Coates to pull that off, but almost immediately he heads off track, does a very nice job wrestling that car back onto the racing surface. Mike Dam now going to retake the lead after that mistake.
That's the thing with Mike Dam. You're not going to see many mistakes like that out of him. So if you're going to pass him, you need to make it stick, and then you need to be clean immediately afterwards, or that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to have that spot right back from you.
Yeah, so that was it looks like it didn't affect him too much, as Michael Coates only back down to second now, right where he was. He can probably go for that again down the back straightaway, but still it would have been nice to lead the race. I still think he probably got the lap lead there. Is Rui Coimbra now up to third? He's gotten around Camden Hibbett once again. Joshua Soto up to fifth as well, after starting, I believe, 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Here's Andrew Gilliland. Something might have happened to him here if we're looking at a replay.
It's like he's coming into turn 2, and he's a little bit wide here on the first apex. He gets out on the grass, and once you're out there, it's just a free ride to the tire barriers, and that's exactly where he ends up. Doesn't look like he did. Oh, no, he did do some significant damage to the suspension of that car and had to tow it back to the pit lane. This is going to be a disaster night for him.
Yeah, especially if all the other open class drivers can pull off something in points. Rui Coimbra going for second on Michael Coates. He'll pull it off into the third to last corner now, as Rui Coimbra trying to get his lead back. He led early in this race. Mike Dam took it from him, and he's pretty much had it ever since. So we'll see if Rui Coimbra can get this lead back from the number 93 machine, try and become another American to lead this race, as Mike Dam has pretty much led it ever since he took the lead in the opening couple of laps.
And I can confirm that Michael Coates did lead that lap where he was very briefly in front. He did manage to get to the line first, but just keep your eye on Mike Dam's car. He uses every single inch of the track, and when you're behind a driver like that, you have to be very focused to use as much track as is there, but not get sucked out into the off of the track by trying to follow him and just getting it wrong. So it's very hard to kind of project where the track is at through a car in front of you. We're going to watch him here go through Moss. You see he's got a very wide entry. Look how straight he's keeping the wheel, and even has to counter steer quite a bit. Just the geography of the corner and the nature of the car's handling on the brakes, the car pretty much turns itself, and you just got to hold on to that wheel and keep it straight to keep it from spinning.
Yeah, so this track is very difficult, and like Otis Adams Jr. mentioned in the pre-race interview, very unforgiving for pretty much the entire field here, and we saw that with Andrew Gilliland as well. Just once you get off track, like you said, Randall, there's just nowhere to go except the tire barrier or the retaining wall. So it's a very tedious track, this one, but it provides for some great racing action. As the pit window now officially open on lap 10 of this race, they're going to take lap 11 here, and this window will be open till about lap 20 for these drivers. So we'll see what they choose to do. No takers just yet. Everybody's still keeps it on the racetrack. But very interesting race so far, as now pretty much at this point, we're just waiting for the pit stops to come around.
And you'll see the drivers that are harder on their tires will probably come in about lap 14 or 15, which will split the race in half. Those that are better on their tires are going to try to stick it out longer. And other than that, opportunism is the name of the game. As we see, is that Josh Soto getting it wrong there in turn 3, gets it back on, it's wiggling, but he manages to keep it under control. He's going to lose a lot of time to the leader, but manages to keep it from getting any damage and not contacting anybody else. As we see Mike Dam actually having a bit of an issue there in Moss, and Rui Coimbra is going to have a sniff. He may have a good run. We could see a pass for the lead here coming into the S's.
Yeah, and especially if Rui can get some help from Michael Coates. Now the draft's starting to take effect as that gap closing between the two lead cars. Now, Rui Coimbra going to peek to the outside as Mike Dam does a pretty good job covering that. It's a 3-car bump draft line. There's Michael Coates going to push Rui Coimbra out front for the second time tonight. Mike Dam and Michael Coates and Cameron Hibbett are going to try and follow. Michael Coates is going to get himself up into second in just one straightaway. Mike Dam goes from first to third, all because of the draft. And I know we always talk about it, but that just goes to show you how powerful the draft is around here.
And don't look now, the two HPP teammates of Hartley and Dam are almost together. So if these two can hook up, this race is going to get wild.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what happens there, as teammates starting to form up with each other. Rui Coimbra at the moment doesn't really have any teammates around him. The next car back, I believe, is Mitchell Peak going to be the first car in the main pack, or he wasn't really in the main pack after his mistake, but he'll be the first car to take a dip into the pit lane. Lee Martin will be with him there as well. So we'll see if Mitchell Peak can get the pit strategy right to put himself back in contention for this lead, as Rui Coimbra still leads the field.
Mitchell probably feeling those tires a little bit after his incident. Going to get those free left sides. He's just trying to do something different to try to make up some time, and that's about the only thing you can do. Try to find yourself some clean air if you're being held up by the drivers ahead of you, and just do something different. Be off strategy in case there's a big incident. You won't be involved, and try to just set off some qualifying pace laps.
Yes, that's going to be the name of the game for a lot of these drivers, is just trying to set qualifying laps. At the moment, is Mike Dam going to go for it once more. I don't think he'll be able to get the lead, but he'll be able to go for a second. Now is Rui Coimbra going to be able to defend his lead into the final corner? Actually, no, Mike Dam got there. They're going to go side by side through the second to last corner. Looks like Rui Coimbra going to still end up with the lead. No pit stop takers just yet. Michael Coates and Cameron Hibbett side by side for third. Michael Coates going to maintain that spot. Side by side further back though, or looked like Jordy Fike and Robert Hartley might have been going for it a little bit there, as Rui Coimbra still leads Mike Dam.
There's no takers from the leaders yet, or from much the rest of the field. And when you're coming through those S's, if you're planning to pit, as we look at Brian Zabelski now entering his stall, you really got to set up where you're going to be in those S's so that you have a clean run to the pit entry. The last thing you want to do is be planning to pit and then suddenly have a car on your right side and nowhere to go.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens. There's pretty unexpected moves this early. A lot of aggression from these drivers as they start to fight for the lead. Now a gap starting to form after the race for third is these drivers. They went side by side for a little bit through turns 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken, and they lost a little bit of time to Mike Dam and Rui Coimbra. This straightaway will allow them to make that time right back up. It's still a pretty big gap that formed just then, and that's one thing that these drivers always have to look out for, is just how gaps start to form whenever they start racing each other. As Tom Athan and Ken Copeland 1-2 for the open class lead right on top of each other.
Looks like Ken's going to give him a bump draft going down the straightaway instead of trying to pass him. These two have not pit yet, so maybe Copeland is going to be saving a little bit of fuel here behind Tom, just trying to go faster as a pair. They have a nice bubble behind them and ahead of them where they're not going to have a lot of competition. And we see now the cloud cover has moved back in, so the track temperature could be going down. Right now it's 97 degrees Fahrenheit. They started, it was 92. So if this cloud stays here for a while, we could see some really fast lap times, maybe see some drivers go for some moves as there's a little bit more grip there that they normally wouldn't be taking.
Yeah, and that's another main part of this race is just the track temp. So 97 degrees at the moment, very hot track that these drivers are having to work with, and that is probably why some of these drivers are having a little bit of an issue in terms of handling, as they're just struggling with the track temp. So we'll see if some of these drivers can start to manage that a little bit better. Sean Hayes is not. He's into the tire barrier back here. He's around. That's some heavy damage to the left side of that car.
He's definitely going to have to bring that in for repairs. Sean Hayes, he's always been really fast here, but I've noticed he's had really rotten luck every time they come here. So once again, being a little snake bit coming through turn 3 here, I think he's just going to get it a little too much of this curb. Gets all the way up on that curb, and it causes him to just understeer, and it just pushes and pushes and pushes, and it ultimately hits that tire barrier. And I couldn't tell if he had any suspension damage. It looks like maybe he does have a little bit. He's definitely going to need to get that car fixed.
Yeah, and these drivers do have a faster pair to use. I think it might be the only one. It looks like he'll be taking his fuel stop there as well. Looks like side by side a little bit in the back of this pack is Ronnie Coates and Joshua Soto were just fighting for it there for P7. Looks like Joshua Soto gonna end up with the benefit of the doubt for that one, as he's he's been hanging out. This race hasn't done too well so far. He's been up to 5th at points, but now currently just hanging out towards the end of this lead pack. And 7th is Mike Dam has taken the lead back. Here's how he did it. I think it looks like he used help from Cannon Hibbett to pull it off. Yes, he did, as these cars came to the outside, got around Rui Coimbra and set sail off into the third to last corner. Now is Rui Coimbra going to have to give up the lead on this lap.
And you don't have to get Moss much better than the car in front of you to have a really good run down that straightaway. Just 1 mile an hour difference there at the apex whenever you come back into the throttle can make all the difference and make a pass happen. And then you add the draft into that, and it's almost a done deal before you even get to the S's.
Yeah, so that's another thing that these drivers have to look out for, is how powerful that draft is. And over a second gap between 3rd and 4th, that's not something I would have saw coming, as we are past the halfway point in this race. Robert Hartley is going to have to try and lead this pack back up to Rui Coimbra's rear bumpers. It looked like might have been racing with Michael Coates there. It looks like he was in 5th as they crossed the line that previous lap. So I think they might have gone a little bit in over their heads there at that time by, as now they're going to have to try and work together to close this gap back down.
You see Josh Soto sticking his nose in there, having a look at Jordy Fike. He's eager to get some spots back after that incident. Oh, and a little bit of contact there between the two, and that's going to end up with Soto taking some damage after Jordy Fike bounces off the wall and into him. It looks like maybe Jordy had to check up a little bit there coming through that left-hander in the S's. We're going to get another look at it here. Josh Soto all over the rear bumper there of Jordy Fike, and just gets a better run through there than Jordy does, and disaster happens in both cars with a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's going to kill the left front of Joshua Soto's car. He has to tow back to the pit lane. Now it's going to be a disaster in points for him. The points leader having major issues on lap 15 of this race. I don't think he definitely didn't mean to do that. It was just he misjudged the gap between himself and Jordy heading into that corner. It looked like as Joshua Soto probably going to take himself out of the race with that incident. Now, as that has separated the main pack into about 5 cars now, consisting of Cameron Hibbett, who was taking the lead for the first time tonight, Mike Dam, the Canadian, who's led pretty much every single lap aside for maybe 3 or 4 tonight, Rui Coimbra, the American driver, past champion in the series, just has not gotten this season off to the start he would have wanted. He's got a great showing tonight. Robert Hartley been quiet but consistent there in 4th, and Michael Coates, another leader of this race, hanging out back there from 5th.
And back there in 7th place, Otis Adams Jr. We haven't heard much from him this race, but he has moved his way up from 13th to 7th. Some of that from the pit cycle. We'll see where he comes out after he makes the stop. But his car is looking clean, and he's got some good pace here hanging with Ronnie Coates.
Yeah, so we'll see if Otis Adams Jr. can help Ronnie Coates close this gap down to the other cars behind him. And we've seen Ronnie Coates in this position before. So I'm looking for the pit stops for him. I know we say it every single race, but I'm looking for the pit stops for Ronnie Coates to bring himself back up into the main pack. He does it pretty much every time, as Tom Athan now quite far ahead from any other open class competitors. I think Ken Copeland may have pitted there, and that is why he is so far out. But pretty decent race all around for Paulo Coimbra, as he's just trying to hang on here. He's pretty close, relatively speaking, to Tom Athan. So if he can just keep it consistent, he might have a shot at the lead in the future. But Mike Dam gonna set it into that corner a little bit too hard, goes wide. Thought Rui Coimbra might have taken advantage of it, but not at the moment.
Mike Dam had that one heck of a run there on Camden Hibbett coming into Moss and just broke a little bit too late and had to dodge off instead of hitting the back of Camden Hibbett. Hibbett, another challenger here for Mike Dam to deal with. We'll see how he handles it. It looks like Mike Dam is going to fight for that lead now, going through the outside on the straightaway, setting up for the S's. That makes me think that Dam is not planning to pit this lap, so we'll see him stick out there possibly for a couple more laps. But they're really approaching the end of the pit window. We should see him start to dip in here soon, as no takers from this lead pack yet. I suspect they will all 5 pit together.
All right, Randall. So what do we do in pit calls here? We got to get the Randall's wrong pit call out to the stream. I think we forgot to do it last week.
Well, Randall's wrong pit call. I mean, right now I'm dead on. We saw some people come in about the halfway point for tires, and the leaders have stuck it out here to the end. So my pit call was, there's no good clear strategy here.
So when it comes to...
I've learned how to punt.
When it comes to the ending of the race, pit strategy is obviously going to come into play there. Where would you want to be when we get to about 40 minutes to go? Obviously, in the lead pack, this isn't a track like Daytona that, you could be 4 or 5 cars back to get the win. So where would you want to be? You think first place is I would say first place is a pretty dangerous spot coming down the Andretti straightaway for the final lap.
Well, it depends on how cagey of a driver you are and how much you trust the drivers behind you. If you're in the lead, you can kind of try to back them up in the entry to Moss to get them, just get to the throttle a little bit slower, make them have to back off, and then get a good run off. I would think that maybe coming into the S's, you want to have that outside line. You can just really send it in there on the entry. And if you end up with a car on your right-hand side, that's fine. You have the defensive line for the left-hander. But if you're on that right-hand side and you can stick it through that left-hander, you're going to have that inside run for that final corner. But the outside might be faster there too. You don't want to get too bound up on the inside. It's really tough to say where you're going to be. These drivers' instincts are pretty good. I don't know where I'd be. It's one of those things you got to do by the seat of your pants. I think overall, though, second place is probably the right place to be. But Mike Dam's so fast, I don't think he'll have a problem if he's in front.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. It almost feels like at this point that Mike is just kind of toying with all the competition behind him here. He is getting into Moss a little differently. I can see that maybe where he's only losing time. It seems like Rui and Camden both have that figured out just a little bit better than Mike, but everywhere else around the track, Mike has got it nailed. And the one thing that I wanted to mention, Robert Hartley back here in 4th place, but they have not come together yet. They have not gotten together yet, but you say that's bad news for all the other drivers if they do.
If they do, yes, look out. That will be bad news indeed. And you're right, Mike Dam has taken the entry to Moss a little bit differently. Like you said, a couple of the other drivers are faster, but you have to wonder, maybe Mike Dam is taking it in a way that's going to be a little bit better on the tires, and he's going to have a little bit more left at the end of the race. We watch Rui Coimbra with the outside run. It seems like whoever's in second, though, is really just getting that run pretty well timed and going to be there at the end of the straight.
Yeah, it looked like Camden was actually trying to stay. He stayed to the right there with Mike. Maybe tried to leave Rui out there to dry, but clearly that did not work out as they are back in now. And looks like we got some pit takers finally. Rui Coimbra, Camden Hibbett in.
That's 2 of the 5, so these other 3 will probably be in this lap. Some of them may have saved enough fuel to get one more lap out of it, but I suspect at the end of this lap we'll see all 3 of them. And that's going to... Mike Dam gets off onto the curb at the exit of turn 1. Oh, no, disaster. Disaster for Mike Dam. He gets the left rear tire out there into the grass, and it just whips the car right around. We've seen him using every inch of the track tonight. See him get down here onto the apex curbing just right, and it runs just a little bit wide. That left rear hits the grass, and it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at that point.
Man, that is unbelievable to see. He looks so smooth through 1 as well, and to watch just barely catching the grass. It's amazing how much the grass affects these vehicles, even in a Miata.
Well, all of the weight is back there on that left rear. you're still turning the wheel to the right. You're onto the throttle. All that weight is back there, and when it breaks traction, boy, just hold on.
Well, so we have lost one HPP driver out of the race. Well, at least out of contention to win the race. But when you, what's that saying? When you lose one, another one's there to take its place. Well, now we've got Robert Hartley taking the reins here of the lead. What do you think? You think Robert can take this? I'm watching. I'm looking at Camden Hibbett right now as we see Michael Coates into the pits, going to leave Robert Hartley out there on an island by himself. This, Randall, does not seem like a good situation for Robert to be in with all these other drivers that are going to be drafting.
I'm not one to second guess Robert Hartley. If he thinks he's got another good lap out there in him, he's running on fumes now, so he's gonna be able to set quali pace as long as he has some good tires under him still. He's going to be able to still have a pretty fast lap. And if he was in the lead, he wasn't going to get much benefit from his slipstream anyway. So why not take another lap? If he's saved that much fuel, his stop's going to be much shorter than everybody else.
Yep, that's true. That is true. But at the same time, is a couple tenths in the pits that much shorter when you've got about 5 tenths, probably to a second, when you're running in a pack on the track. And going back through here right now, we can see Camden Hibbett, Michael Coates, and Rui Coimbra all together as Michael Coates goes wide. And this is somebody needs to be yelling at him right now, Randall, and saying, hey, guys, hey, Robert Hartley is on an island by himself. Stop battling and get up there.
Good luck trying to get these guys to not race each other, especially when they have a couple of new tires out there. They're trying to heat them up. Somebody's going to make a mistake. If you just have an opportunity present itself to you, you're going to take it. These guys know that they're fighting for the lead, and they're not thinking about Hartley right now.
That's true. It looks like Alex Andersen has gotten back into the Discord, had a bit of some technical difficulties. So, Alex, you're back. I'm going back down into the booth. Alex is not back, Randall. Oh, now Alex is back. Goodbye.
Yeah, so I apologize for having to take that short little break there, but we are back, and it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, everything has gotten a lot more simpler since I have left, so I'm going to try and get everything figured out once again. But pretty interesting race so far.
Yeah, we see Robert Hartley still out there. He's not entered pit lane yet as we have Andrew Kosick and Ray Lombardi in. So he's stretching this out for a 20-second lap. How much fuel did Robert Hartley save in the pack? He's going to have the shortest pit stop in history for this league. And now he's on an island, so you really have to wonder, maybe Adam was right. Maybe he's just going to be stuck here and not going to be getting any benefits of any slipstream. And the other three are just going to blow past him at the pit exit.
Yeah, and so Robert Hartley stretching it out for a 20-second lap, that's not something I expected to see at all, but he's going to go for it here as it looks like he's heading down the back straightaway at the moment, just all by himself, just hanging out at the moment, trying to hang in there. Rui Coimbra actually went slower than him through Sector 1, so he still is setting some pretty fast times as they're probably still struggling with cold tires. Like you said, Randall, he's probably going to have the shortest pit stop in the history as it looks like he is going to make it, heading through the last couple of corners, and now I believe into the pit lane. Yep, there he goes. Very, very impressive strategy from Robert Hartley. We'll see if it pays off for him and if he can maintain his spot in the lead pack.
He had a 32.5-second lead over Rui Coimbra in P2. Rui Coimbra and most of the leaders, their pit time, their total pit lane time is between 42 and 43 seconds. So if that's what happens, he's going to be well off, but he's going to have such a short pit stop. Everybody else was stopped for 16 to 17.5 seconds. We'll see how long he's sitting here right now at 14 seconds. He needs to get on with it soon, as now he's coming up to 18 seconds. I don't know what's going on here.
Might have taken 4 tires, honestly, just best guess.
Oh, we're looking at Mike Dam. I'm looking at the wrong...
Wrong car.
Completely wrong car.
But
Robert Hartley's pit stop was slow. He was stopped for 22.3 seconds, and now he's nowhere near the leaders.
You know what? We always say, we always do say that 4 tires, when you pit, cost you about 3 to 5 seconds. You think definitely? Yeah, I mean, Robert Hartley definitely would have had maybe a 14 or 15-second fuel stop, but if his pit stop was 18 seconds, he could have taken all 4 tires and and he might have just wanted to be better off towards the end of this race.
Just don't. I just don't think it's worth it. We see Rui Coimbra running a little bit wide, using all the track there. He's going to have Camden Hibbett all over his bumper coming down the Andretti straightaway. Camden's actually going to get the inside here, so he should easily get this overtake done coming through the curvy bits of this not straightaway. And by the time they get to the S's, should be clear. And if he's not, he will clear it on the first right-hander there through the S's. We see Rui Coimbra jump back in line.
Yeah, Cameron Hibbett takes the lead once again tonight, so it looks like we don't have any Canadian drivers up here, which, while I was gone, I don't think I saw what happened to Mike Dam. He's in the pits now, so I don't think I was here for that, so I apologize, but, currently no Canadian drivers up here at the moment, as we see Ronnie Coates now, 7 seconds back. He's got Otis Adams Jr. running with him at the moment inside the top 5, so pretty good race for both of these drivers, even if they can't contend for the win, as Ronnie Coates looks like. Couldn't get the pit strategy perfect this time, but still a great run for him.
Now, these two drivers need to keep on it because these three drivers up front are all very close together. They're all jockeying for position, and all it takes is one bad corner. We've seen it before in this series at the likes of like Watkins Glen. This is another track where something big can happen right at the end of the race. So those drivers back and fourth and fifth need to be on it still to be there just in case. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, and definitely, and especially with 3 cars running for the lead of the race, I think the next cars in line to come and take the win, if any instance were to happen, probably would be Ronnie Coates and Otis Adams Jr., with how decently close they are compared to the rest of the field now. As we are looking at Brian Zabelski. Oh, Robert Hartley
Robert
around.
Hartley.
Great timing. Yeah, great timing to switch over there as Robert Hartley goes around in that airpin. He's going to have to get out of the way here. What a save to keep that car completely on the racing surface. No walls touched, but still he's going to tumble down the order here past the open class leader, Apollo Coimbra, and it looks like not past Ken Copeland, but still in between the open class first and second place drivers right now, as we were looking at Brian Zabelski, but it looked like he turned into this corner, downshifted, and it just got, or it looks like he downshifted to first too early, and it got the car unsettled, and he goes around. So I think you want to be in first gear for that second right-hander, and Robert Hartley just downshifted a little bit too early there. Unfortunate mistake for him. Yeah, that was the first time he's gone into first gear there, so I'm not sure what happened there. He might have just downshifted, or he might have just downshifted too fast.
We see this is the second time he's had issues on 2 laps, and I'm thinking cold tires here are getting the better of him. He's gotten very used to a certain rhythm through that corner, and now that he's got cold tires on the left-hand side of that car, they're biting him, and he hasn't adjusted for it. So it's gone from bad to worse for Robert Hartley, and look now at Ken Copeland in P12, Paulo Coimbra in P10. We got some open class contenders pretty far up there, especially that Ken Copeland. That's going to be really bad news for Andrew Gilliland. This could have been a big fight for him to keep some of them points. But these open class drivers finishing so far up the field, they're going to get a huge haul of points to take to Andrew Gilliland, that fight throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, Cossack as well in the number 50 car, only 20 points back from Andrew Gilliland in the open class points, is also going to have a pretty good day today as he's running 14th, only 2 spots back from Ken Copeland, only 4 spots back from the open class leader. He'll get a healthy amount of points to get him up towards the number 16 team in points. So good. So just needs to finish this race wherever he can, as long as it is in the range of where he is now, and he will have a great points day come to the end of this race.
And if it finishes like it finishes now, we're going to have both the Coimbras in the interview booth.
Oh, wait, yeah, actually, I didn't even realize that. So both Coimbras, we may have both Coimbras in an interview booth. We're going to have to see if Paulo Coimbra can hold on to his lead and if Rui Coimbra can hold off 2 of the fastest drivers in this series. So going to be a hard fight for both drivers. We'll see if they can pull it off with 5 minutes remaining in this race, maybe 3 laps to go. Maybe 2 at the line. We'll see how close they are when they get there. Probably 3 to go at the line. As now we're looking at Paulo Coimbra. He's got Robert Hartley behind him and Ken Copeland about 2.5 seconds back. So he has a really nice gap back to Ken Copeland, and he also has the benefit of running with 2 other cars in this little group. So Paulo Coimbra, he just needs to hang on here, and he'll have himself an open class win at the end of the day.
Absolutely. He's in a good spot. Just needs to bring home the groceries. We watch Hibbett make the outside move here on Rui Coimbra for the overall lead. And he's going to get it done. Rui Coimbra is going to tuck in here just at the entry to the S's. And they'll be nice and well conducted through here in a single file line. And bring the fight back next lap. They're trying to jockey for position to see who wants to be where at the end of this race. Maybe seeing some dress rehearsals. I haven't seen any moves in the S's yet. But it's going to get thick and fast here in the last 3 laps.
Yeah, and it's going to get pretty intense for these top 3 drivers. I think 3 to go at the line there that time. So it looks like it should be maybe a 29 lap race when they cross the when they take the checkered flag. So 29 laps. So, or actually, no, that would be 30 laps if we were on 3 to go. So apologies, I can't do math. We established this a couple through this season of the Spec-5 World Tour, but Cameron Hibbett still leads. Rui Coimbra still leads Michael Coates as this field. Oh, Rui Coimbra going for an aggressive move to the inside, heading towards the double right-hander, and he will easily clear Cameron Hibbett for the lead. That's not a place I expected to move.
You wonder if we're seeing a little bit of gamesmanship here out of Hibbett. Normally, he's not that kind of driver, and it plays a very mature race. Just takes what he has and tries to make the best out of it. But now we're seeing him getting comfortable in that car, making some moves. Like, you got to wonder, maybe he just kind of gave that up, getting a good practice run in here for the end of the race in case he finds himself in second.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a lot of what we see. We see that. Let me rephrase that. We see that a lot in this series with dress rehearsals of moves on the last lap. We've seen it pretty much in not every race, but in most races in this series. So we'll see if we see it again tonight as Rui with a really good move, or excuse me, Camden with a really good move there to take the lead away.
And we saw something different that time going down the S's that we really haven't seen all night. When Hibbett made the pass on Rui Coimbra, he kept it much tighter to Rui's door to try to get that side draft. And then once he was getting around and started to blend out, Rui blended right out with him and got back to that side draft again to try to keep alongside of him. So they are definitely fighting to see what it's going to be like here at the end of the race. I don't know which one of these 3 cars I'd rather be right now.
Personally, I don't either, as they are on 2 laps to go at the moment. It's going to be risky no matter which car you are. And as we know, off of pretty much every race we've covered of this series, anything can happen in the Spec-5 World Tour. So even if you're somebody like Ronnie Coates or Otis Adams Jr. back there, you can't give in just yet, especially with just how these cars act and how they race. And it's just going to be such an entertaining end of this race no matter how you slice it. So as they head down the back straightaway, they'll collect the white flag this time. We'll see if any of these drivers we'll see which one of these drivers pulls it off.
Right now, we're going to go on board with John Casey. John Casey seems to be a repeat offender for our back marker award here. The salute to the back marker. We saw him have some problems in turn 3, got that car repaired. He's back out there. He's not on the lead lap. He's up 4 spots from where he qualified. So he's still having a good race out there. Somebody's got to finish in last every week. It's just the way, it's just the nature of racing. And John, for 2 weeks in a row, it's been you, man. And it's a terrible thing because you're a great guy. We salute you, bud. Thank you for coming out to race.
Yeah, thank you to everybody else that's back there as well. Sean Hayes, Orlando Harrell, and everybody else involved in the series. But on the last lap of this race, heading into turn number 3, Rui Coimbra leads the pack. Honestly, I think I'd rather be in Camden Hibbett's position right now. He's not going to be in a good spot. Heading down this back straightaway, he's going to have to pull off all the defensive moves he can. But even then, I think Camden Hibbett will just be able to fly right around him. We'll see if Rui Coimbra can defend down the back straightaway.
You see, Rui doesn't do much job of trying to back them up on the entry to Moss. Gets it a little wide there at the apex, really hanging the tail out, but gets a good run off. But I think you're right. I think Camden's going to get the run here. So we're going to see interesting to see if he's going to stay to the inside or try to blend out to the outside early. It looks like he's going to stick to the inside. Camden, maybe not as big of a run as we expected, now moves out to make the move and is going to blend out. That looks like Rui's going to go right with him.
Yeah, here we go into the third to last corner for the final time. Side by side, Cameron Ibbett sticks it in around the outside, and he'll have the advantage into the second to last corner. What can Rui do? They door. They make contact. Cameron goes sideways. Rui Coimbra gets his nose out front into the final corner. Cameron goes off track. It'll be Rui Coimbra at the line. Cameron gonna have to settle for second. Rui Coimbra gets his first win in seasons of racing here. Paulo Coimbra just has to hold on for the final couple of corners. We said a couple laps ago, we might see both Coimbras in the interview booth tonight. And through the final corner, we will see both Coimbras in the interview booth tonight. Is Paulo Coimbra going to take a win in the open class from MOSPORT? Fantastic way to end the race.
A little bit of a cheeky move there from Rui Coimbra there in the last corner, drove all the way to the exit there, and maybe forced Hibbett off track, but after getting doored on the previous corner, I can't blame him one bit. This is for the win. It's the last corner of the last lap. All bets are off. Gloves are off. The gloves are thrown out the window. Absolutely good stuff. You love to see good hard racing like that. Camden Hibbett still manages to come home P2. My pick for the race, Rui Coimbra brings home the checkered flag and the trophy.
And my pick, Robert Hartley, made a couple of mistakes there, ends up P9 still within the top 10 as we're now waiting for the final couple of drivers to cross the line. The next car to do so, or the last car to do so, will be Sean Hayes in the number 94 car. Mistake around the halfway point leads him to finish in P19. Unfortunate end to his day, but great finish to the race overall from MOSPORT. Rui Coimbra gets his first win in a couple of seasons, which is not something I would have ever expected to say about Rui Coimbra when I first started covering this series. He'll win from MOSPORT. Cameron Hibbett in P2, Michael Coates in P3, Ronnie Coates in P4, Otis Adams Jr. in P5, Mitchell Peak in P6, Greg Mack in 7th, Brian Zabelski in 8th, Robert Hartley in 9th, Lee Martin in 10th. Paulo Coimbra gets another open class win from MOSPORT there in 11th. Ken Copeland about 3 seconds behind him in 12th. Tom Athan in 13th. Jordy Fike in 14th. Ray Lombardi in 15th. Andrew Cossack in 16th. Jose Gonzalez in 17th. Orlando Harrell in 18th in his first race pretty much ever, I think, in the Spec-5 World Tour. So great job for him. Sean Hayes in 19th, John Casey in 20th, and then a lot of DNFs from here on out. Mike Dam in 21st, Joshua Soto, the points leader for the Pro Class. That's going to hurt him a lot there in 22nd. Andrew Gilliland, the open class points leader, that's also going to hurt him a lot, as Paulo Coimbra, Ken Copeland, all those drivers are going to get a massive leap further towards him in the points after tonight. Kenneth Staub in 24th, Eugenio Polici in 25th. After his first lap incident, Nicky Borovic did not start the race. He'll end up 26th. But Randall, I believe you are on standby with our open class winner, Paulo Coimbra.
Open class winner, Paulo Coimbra. I had observed you a couple weeks ago in some official sessions, knowing that you were coming back to the Spec-5 World Tour and you were excited for Thursday nights. Here you are in your second race of the season with an open class win and overall P11. Tell us about your race.
Well, I think I got a little bit lucky because some of the big guys, they went off track. So I just tried to stay on the track and finish the race. I catch up to Lee, and I think that was a great help pulling me away. He's a pretty fast driver. And I think that's what got me the first place, is getting stuck to Lee.
Great stuff out there. Good to see you back in the league and back in the interview booth. What did you feel like going into this race? Did you like your chances?
I thought I had some chances of getting podium, or at least be on the top 5 for my class. But I wasn't sure. So many great guys here. But I felt during practice with another team guys, I felt that I stayed in the track quite often, even during practice. So that was a good feeling about it. Like, maybe if I stay on the track, I could finish on top.
Well, it was a great show tonight, and you were right. You did not step one little bit off the track, and You just keep it on the gray stuff, and you can have a good race. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Yes, you guys, slow motion for, believe it or not, racing is a lot of fun for me. But after racing, going to the YouTube channel and watching the slow motion broadcast, that gives me a lot of pleasure, to be honest with you. Also to the Spec-5 guys, to putting a great, great league. The league is getting better, a lot more guys, a lot more fast guys, which maybe not as good for me. But but yeah, they're putting a very, very good league. And also for the Nora team guys, man, I love these guys. We just friends. We practice together sometimes, and a lot of times, and I love them.
Well, awesome. Great race, Paulo. And maybe we'll see you back up here again before the season's over. And good luck next week.
All right, thank you.
That was your open class winner, Paulo Coimbra. And Alex, I think you have our pro class winner, Rui Coimbra. My pick.
I sure do. And Rui, we get to see both Coimbras in the booth tonight. It's been a while since you've been up here, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure has been. I feel like it's been at least 2 seasons, but man, that was a lot of fun. It's good to interview you guys again, or interview with you guys again. It's definitely been overdue.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for being able to join us up here. And with how that race went, you started, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say outside pole. And it was a pretty quiet race for you at the start. You got through the pit stops nice and clean. But just how was it coming through that race? I mean, it seemed like it was quite a handful up front to manage.
Yeah, Mike Dam had incredible pace, so I just I didn't want to get too greedy and try to fight early on. I did want to check off that lead a lap right in the beginning, because you never know. There's a lot of fast guys behind me. I don't know if I was going to get another chance. So I got that lead lap checked off early, tucked in behind Mike. I made a couple mistakes, and then had to fight my way back up to the front. Pit stop was clean. I wanted to pit with a lap or two of fuel to go. And then I saw Mike Dam kind of toe into the pit, so I don't know what happened to him. Came back out of the pits, and Hartley stayed out. It felt like another 12 laps. I thought for sure he was going to do a splash and go and be halfway up the track. So I don't know what happened to him either, but
I think
I'll take all the luck I can get.
Yeah, I think from what we were looking at and judging off of how much he was struggling, I think he did take 4 tires to try and
Ooh.
have some more grip. So it looked like that didn't end up helping him in the end. But on that last lap, going into the third to last corner, I mean, side by side with Camden Hibbett, what was your game plan there?
I kind of felt Camden setting it up and doing some practice runs, and I don't think anybody ever wants to be in the lead leading that last lap, but I figured if I can get enough side draft and hold the inside, I had an advantage through those last 3 turns. I think that's the line you want to be on. So that was my plan, just tuck into the side draft, stay alongside them, and have the preferred line until the finish line there, and it worked out.
Yeah, so it was a great race for you at the end. Before we let you go, anybody you want to give a thanks to?
Yeah, big shout out to you guys putting on a great broadcast. I know we always look forward to going back and watching it. Everybody at Spec-5, they put on a great league, and the guys we race with, and all the guys at Not a Team. We do a lot of practice together and push each other to get better. So yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually not a team sweep tonight. So great job for you guys. So thank you for joining us up here. It was a great race to watch, and hopefully we can see you up here once again next week from, I believe, Le Mans. So that's going to be a really fun race to watch. So hopefully we'll see you back up here from there.
I'll do my best. Thank you, guys.
No problem. And that was Rui Coimbra, your pro class winner tonight. And Randall, what a race we just watched.
Like I said at the top of the broadcast, MOSPORT always delivers. And we saw a lot of attrition through a lot of the contenders, both for the race and for the points lead. Paulo Coimbra had the right idea. Keep it on track. You're going to have a good finish. In order to finish first, you must first finish. Rui Coimbra comes home with the overall victory. That was a really great race to watch, really great race to commentate on, and I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, especially from Le Mans. So upcoming broadcasts Sunday, February 12th at 8:10 p.m. EST. The Radical SR8s of the Cross Series League Racing Championship return from Monza, but it's not the oval this time. It is going to be the combined no chicanes layout. So that's going to be a very fun race to watch. Thursday, February 16th at 9:15 p.m. EST. 1 week from now, the Spec-5 World Tour returns once again with the Mazda Miata MX-5 Cup cars from Le Mans, which with the straights on that track, that race is going to be absolutely incredible. So that is that and Tsukuba 1000 Outer, I would say, are the two, or not Tsukuba 1000 Outer, Tsukuba 1000 Full are the two races I'm looking forward to the most. For the rest of the season. So we'll see you guys then. But for now, my name is Alex Andersen. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Randall McGrew with Adam Thompson in our virtual production truck. And from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for Race 5 of Season 12 of the Spec-5 World Tour. Have a good night.
Not. So Patrick, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You describe it. You describe it. I
What?
do enough talking.
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much, but I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. Some of them just want to make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up and he's like,
I
"Oh,
just
we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
Like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
that was the guy from